here, free agency has kind of come and gone, huh? It was
It was
hot days, and then
that's what happens. So it's not like baseball where it lasts 2 or 3 months, and listening to XM radio today, they've pointed out over the years, there's a pot of money. Each team has a pot of money, and each, if you don't get in part of that pot of money the first few days, usually, you're getting a small slice of the pie. So
yeah. Then they they talk about the next couple weeks is how championship teams are built and all that. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll
there
see.
was
Kevin's here.
another thing I heard is in the first 2 days there was 130 one-year contracts signed.
130. Wow.
Yeah, and they said after tonight it'll probably be about 145, and they're saying that's a pretty large number.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, 52, 50 team players on a, that's a decent amount of players, 5% of the league or whatever that's on 1-year contracts.
I think the 49ers were leading the pack with either 7 or 8 one-year contracts. So the 49ers are clearly, clearing the board for Brock Purdy's contract, and they're I don't want to say their window is closed, but they had some very big names they got rid of. They seem to they released like Leonard Floyd, who had 8.5 sacks. Looked like they were getting all set up for Joey Bosa, and then he signs with Buffalo. So just kind of funny, but I know that's kind of indirectly fantasy related. So
yeah, it seems like the 49ers, they're talking about teams like to do these fast rebuilds now with the cap going up so much, and kind of an underrated thing, like Philly, for example, a lot of their players are getting signed to contracts, and now they have like 20 picks in the next 2 years, and they're just going to refresh it all with younger players. So
yeah.
But
another thing about the 49ers is 11 out of 22 starters from their Super Bowl game, which was, only 13, 14 months ago. 11 out of 22 are gone.
Yeah.
That's
a lot. That is a lot. We have Kevin in here. We have James in here. A couple other people in here. So if you guys have any questions, this is kind of just not doing any mock drafts tonight, just going over some free agency moves and trades and stuff like that, seeing how it affects fantasy. If you have any specific questions about anything, just drop it in the chat. We'll definitely get to it. And, of course, hit the like button on the video and get more eyes on it. We're just going to kind of go through, obviously, starting with the quarterbacks. There's still, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and Kirk Cousins. So there's still 3 guys out there that could have some significant impact on fantasy this year.
I think the Cousins thing is going to loiter for a while, because no matter what Atlanta does, if they trade him or cut him or keep him, they're still on the hook for a lot of money.
Yeah.
So they're just saying, screw it, we're going to hold on to you and stuff like that. So until somebody gets really desperate. I think Aaron Rodgers is kind of a punk, just kind of, he likes to be talked about, I think. And so I don't know, seems to be holding the Steelers hostage. Steelers got their quarterback today, Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, sure. James asked, what do you think about Dobbins not being signed? I think it has to do with these running back contracts have been not great at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I was surprised what was it? Javante got like 3 million. Even Rico Dowdle, I know he's a little bit older, but he came off a pretty good season and he gets only 6 million, which is really nothing in today's NFL.
I
Like long
mean,
are making more money than that.
what
You
did
know,
Najee get
he got 9 or 10, or was it 12? Let me see.
for 1 year or no, 2 years, right?
I think his was a 1 year. No, 5 million.
It was like
No,
9, I thought, 8 or 9.
1 year, $5.2 million contract with the Chargers.
Jeez.
Has a signing bonus. Yeah, I mean, there's just these running back contracts have been horrendous, and a lot of it is reflective. You think about last year, like Swift got a lot of money, Pollard got a lot of money, and what was the narrative? Well, the draft class was bad for running backs, and kind of turned out that way. We only saw really a couple guys hit last year in Bucky Irving and I guess Tyrone Tracy. This year it's the opposite, so that could be affecting it. But yeah, I mean, and Julian says that Dobbins might be cooked, and yeah,
I still think, yeah, I still think he's got a career. I mean,
he has a role on a team for sure, but
it has to be a team like the Chargers, though, that knows how to run the ball. So
yeah, I think there's a very, very, very high chance that last year was the best year of Dobbins' career.
yeah, he still sat out 4 games because he banged his knee up or something. So
It just makes you think how good he could have been if he didn't suffer all those injuries. So,
yeah,
but yeah, the quarterbacks that did sign, obviously we have Sam Darnold going to the Seahawks. They replace him with Geno. He gets a bunch of money. You see the keep trade cut, which is the community believes in Darnold as the QB 25. And I mean, man, if you went and like we were talking about last year at this time when Darnold signed with the Vikings.
oh, it was irrelevant. Yeah,
Well, yeah, but it was irrelevant, but it was like, hey, go out and grab him just in case, right? Like that's what we are saying here on this channel. Just like pick him up because like we assume the Vikings are going to get a quarterback, but we don't know if that's going to be if they're going to be able to. And they did, and he got hurt, and the rest is history. But how do you feel about Darnold on the Seahawks? Because my biggest concern was that offensive line was horrendous for Geno. That's a big reason why he struggled.
yeah.
He did. Darnold's not good under pressure.
I think I honestly think we've seen the best of Sam Darnold last year. With Minnesota and stuff like that. So QB 25, man, that's. I mean, there's only 32 of them and stuff like that. So that's pretty far down the pecking order.
Yeah.
Did okay? I guess you need to ask the question: how did Seattle help themselves? Well, they got a little younger, but they got rid of some guys and stuff like that. I don't know if the contract was. I don't know if the financial part, but they did get younger. So
yeah, maybe they feel a little bit more comfortable with Darnold. I don't know. It is an interesting move to like. How much better is Darnold than Geno? So I like it for JSN. Especially now that he's kind of the only guy as of right now. I'm sure they'll bring someone in.
Definitely the only guy.
But Darnold, he also seems. I remember hearing someone saying that he targets the slot a decent amount, like at a pretty decent rate. So and JSN kind of does a lot of work from the slot. So I like it for JSN. I don't really move him like because it went from Geno to Darnold. I'm glad they got someone competent in there and not Sam Howell or whoever else they would have brought in. But yeah, interesting move, and it's good for your Darnold shares, though. I mean, you got a long-term contract, and so you assume you're going to get at least 2 years of a starting quarterback. And I don't know what the contract breakdown is and all of that, but you get 2 years as a starting quarterback, in a super flex league. That's pretty good considering Darnold was maybe picked up off of waivers this time last year. So you can't really complain of what you gotten from Darnold. I think he's like, if he's your QB3, you're in a good spot there. Details aren't out on the contract.
What if he's your QB2?
Yeah, hopefully he's like a 2A, 2B situation. So he could be fine. Like he could be fine. Like last year he was fine as like a QB2, maybe if you had one of the top quarterbacks. So James asked, do we think Elijah Mitchell will be RB1 in Kansas City?
Oh boy, yeah, I seen that yesterday, and
I don't think so. I think this was Kansas. So kind of what these good teams like to do, which is really smart, and the Lions are really good at it, is they make sure they don't have any like huge holes going into the draft, and then you can legitimately take like best player available, you know? So it's like, all right, we don't really have like we're not going to overdraft a position or a player because because this we need the position or something, right? Like kind of what we do in dynasty rookie drafts too. Like you should always kind of try and take best player available, and so it's kind of how I view them doing that. They needed someone else in there. I think they need just like if they need something, they need another weapon. It feels like, I know they have like Worthy and Rice. Kelsey's coming back, but he's not explosive anymore. So I don't think it. I don't think it takes them out of the running from drafting a guy either. So I think they absolutely could draft someone still in the second round, like a Travion Henderson or something. So will he be one? I don't know. I think we're. I'm not the biggest Pacheco guy, but I do think we're kind of like bailing out on Pacheco a little bit too fast. Like he did come off a broken leg pretty quickly. So, and I think that's why he struggled in the playoffs and late last season was more like, we saw Pollard, Mark Andrews, these guys a year off the injury struggle, so I think it was more of that. So Pacheco's kind of like an interesting spot. Like you could definitely gamble on him, and there's a good chance he's just their starting running back next year. So
he'll definitely probably get some carries, but his problem is he's always hurt.
Yeah.
When he plays, no kidding. I mean, he looked really good in San Francisco when he was playing, but
yeah,
that's hard to count on in the fantasy world,
Yeah, absolutely. So it probably Julian. It's more like Julian says. It's going to be more of a committee, either that or they're going to draft like a Travion Henderson, one of the top 7 guys within the first 3 rounds or something. So I think they could use a pretty good just a weapon. So so James says dominating the questions. Yeah, no, keep them coming, James. That's what we're here for. Just a casual Q&A and talk about some free agency. So he says, do you think Fields will be better for Wilson than Rodgers, for Garrett Wilson? I have a feeling, yeah, and it's easy to forget, but remember DJ Moore had his best season with Justin Fields. He had 1,364 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 96 catches. And that's not just like, oh, he was good. Like that's like a legit season, like over 1,300 yards and almost 100 catches is legit. So,
but just to throw back a question at James, do you think you're going to see more out of Garrett Wilson than you did last year? I mean,
yeah, that's basically what he's asking. Like, do we think? Oh, you're saying like, did we what we got last year is probably what we're going to get this year?
Yeah, which is not bad.
It is a good point because I do think DJ Moore is a little bit more of a explosive receiver in the sense of like he can do more with less, I guess, and maybe Garrett Wilson's needs a little bit more volume, which you're probably not going to get with Fields. So, I mean, yeah, Garrett Wilson was even good last year numbers wise. It just didn't translate to fantasy. So, I don't know. I think
there's wide receiver 10. So,
yeah,
I mean, in scoring that I'm looking at right now.
Who, Garrett Wilson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just looking on ESPN.com. So
it's funny because like I think I was talking about this either with you or Brian. It might have been with Brian, or both of you, like because the expectations of the Jets just as an NFL team, we're expecting so much more and they were terrible. We're like surprised, like, oh yeah, Rodgers actually had a decent season and Breece Hall did this and Devontae Adams did this. And I think we were talking about because you're like, how'd they lose all the time?
Yeah, Garrett Wilson was, this is just on ESPN.com. in a fantasy scoring. Garrett Wilson was 10. Devontae Adams was 11.
Yeah.
It's like, and they sucked.
The team sucked. Yeah. Yeah. I'm seeing, Garrett Wilson. Yeah. 10, 11.
Rodgers
Average.
had 28 touchdowns, I think.
Yeah, he did. Garrett Wilson average wise was wide receiver 21. So, but yeah, I'm not completely out on like Garrett Wilson having a big year, but it's not. I don't know. And the one thing I'll say is, obviously you have Aaron Glenn coming in from the Lions system, and who they take from the Lions, their QB coach, or I forget who they took for their offensive.
Yeah, I can't remember. You could be right, but
Tanner. He spent the last 2 seasons under Dan. Yeah, so he was something with QB coach or assistant, whatever, and that like they mean like Jared Goff's a good quarterback, but like I think they're kind of maximizing Jared Goff to the point where like every now and then you hear like, oh, Jared Goff MVP conversations, like so. If you have that same idea, and of course, not everyone's going to be Ben Johnson or whatever, but could they maximize Justin Fields? So I don't know. It's tough. I'm glad that it's really like who else is there on the Jets that you're super worried about, like contending and competing against Garrett Wilson? Like not really much. Right?
Nobody else. Brees Hall hasn't.
Yeah,
he's not the man for whatever reason.
Yep, Caleb said he's excited for the Poseidon League. Yeah, that one's close to, we're gonna be getting that one started, potentially drafting here in the next couple of weeks because I think almost everyone's paid and we're almost ready to go. So if you guys are watching and you're not in our Discord, make sure to join our Discord. We're putting together listener leagues, so we got 2 set up that we're hopefully going to start drafting here soon. And we'll start putting together a third one if we get enough people interested. So your friend Robert's here, Frito. Clint Kubiak, he said, is going to implement a zone-based scheme. Passing game is going to change. Grubb was asking guys to block at the NFL. Yeah. There was definitely the college scheme did not translate over well, like for Seattle. So I think they're going to be more efficient overall. If Darnold can be efficient and they can protect him, I do think they're just going to be more efficient and overall better offense.
Turnovers.
Yeah, it was big. But again, I think a lot of it was on the offensive line. And
it's funny because Seattle's had a couple of good drafts of offensive linemen.
Yeah.
And it seems like only one of them, the left tackle, I think his name is Charles Cross. I thought the right tackle there a couple of years ago was pretty good too, but I guess apparently not. So,
yeah, no, I'm excited to see. Like, it's easy to forget. Like, Clint Kubiak had that Saints offense rolling at the first few weeks of the year, and then like they kind of all fell apart. Olave got hurt. Shaheed got hurt. Carr got hurt.
Shaheed, then
it is Charles
Camara,
Yeah.
They all kind of fell apart.
Yeah. Paul says he's in a 1 quarterback, 12-team PPR, no tight end premium. He has the 103, 106, 109. He plans on drafting Hampton at the 103. Would you draft Caleb Johnson or Loveland at the 106? With no tight end premium, I'm going to go right now, Caleb Johnson. We need to see obviously where these guys land and
Yeah, and he's right. He could get a tight end at 9. There's the Miami tight end and the LSU tight end.
Yeah, he could get. I mean, I've even seen Loveland fall to the 109, especially not one quarterback. It would be a little bit tough because those quarterbacks, usually push them there. But I would go in a non-tight end premium. I'm generally going to go. I'm going to push tight ends down the board a little bit. So unless your league like values tight ends for whatever reason, Paul, like you see people make like overpay for tight ends and stuff. Like I'll probably just roll with either I'll go best player available, which is probably going to be a running back or wide receiver there. So
That would be a hell of a draft to get those 2 running backs and a tight end. That would be pretty good.
yeah, I think Hampton has a good chance. I keep saying I think he might. I think he's going to go in the first round. So who do you think is going to step up for the Jags? Or are they just going to draft weapons? It's a good question. I mean, is it just going to be the Brian Thomas Jr. show? Like, who do they have now? I know they have Gabe Davis, but we're not super excited about him. You have, Parker Washington. You have Brenton Strange. I think the Jags are in play for Tyler Warren at the 5th pick, the tight end at Penn State. I wouldn't be shocked.
What about a running back? I wouldn't say Bigsby and ETN are something to shout about,
No, they could be. Yeah, maybe second round or something.
Yeah, I was gonna not at the 105, but
Yeah, I mean,
maybe they need to go line or something. I don't know.
They have so it's their depth chart shows Brian Thomas, Gabe Davis, Diami Brown, Parker Washington, Tim Jones. So not looking good there. Brenton Strange at tight end. Yeah, they definitely need a weapon. But there's still a few more guys out there. Wide receiver wise, like Cooper Kupp still there, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Brandon Cooks, Deontay Johnson, Tyler Lockett. Like they should probably bring in one somebody. Of those guys. Yeah. What about what on top of the 101? I think May, like I personally view May as like multiple firsts. So the 101 and then a late first is probably what like if I'm trading him away at the minimum I would want. So yeah.
Trading Drake May?
Yeah, Drake May. He's saying what can he add to the 101? Either I forget if he's trading for him or trading him away, but you can let us know, Julian. But I think he's 2 first minimum, even with one of them being the 101. I just think Drake May is going to be really good.
Seems to be. I think Josh McDaniels. They were talking. They were talking on XM radio again today. How they're going back to the draft where I forgot his name. The guy from the 49ers, the 3rd round pick, who turned into crap.
What are you talking about? Quarterbacks?
Yeah. But anyway, okay, I got too long of a story, but
you're talking about Trey Lance, the 3rd overall.
Yeah, pick? but now how they were supposed to get Mac Jones, and they're saying the demise of Mac Jones was because Josh McDaniels left. Now Josh McDaniels is in New England,
yeah,
and they think that's going to be marvelous for Drake May.
I think it is, and I was going to bring that up. Like Mac Jones was the best rookie that year in 2021. Quarterback. He threw for 3,800 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. Took him to the playoffs. Was second, I think, in rookie of the year. Like I think Drake May. I would add a. I would definitely add a. I'd be okay adding another first in there, Julian. I would. I think May's just going to be good. Like. And I think he's going to get into that difference maker level where because of his rushing ability. And it's not like, he's fine at rushing. He's averaging he had 400 yards rushing in. Now you got to be careful with him because, he played in a couple games one game, I think, where he didn't really start, 2 games where he didn't really start. So he had 400 yards rushing in 11 games. So like, that's like legitimate stuff, I'm going to do calculator math here. That's 37 yards a game over a 17-game season. That's over 630 yards rushing in a season. That's like legit stuff. So, yeah, I would be okay with adding another first for sure. Like it could be a 2026 first, or even a 2025 first. That's fine. I don't know. I don't know if you feel the same there, Dad. A couple firsts for
Yeah,
May.
absolutely. I was gonna say, why are you trading Drake May? You must have a pretty good quarterback, but
No, he's sorry, I forgot to pull this one up. He's trying to get May.
oh, he's trying to.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
trying to get May. Yeah, it is tough if you think it's going to be top 3. I get that. I mean, can you do like I don't know, some kind of like swap, like first swaps, if you're trading him to a good team or something. I mean, throw out some players that you have and that and I'll tell you if I'd be willing to add that player to the 101 for May. Feeling about Jonathan Taylor next year. I feel pretty good about JT.
yeah, I think
He could be top 5 running back if he's healthy next year. He just needs the offense to be functional. He was good last year. He averaged over 100 yards rushing a game. He just needed touchdowns. Like
he missed some games last year. Yeah, but
he had 1,400 yards rushing. He averaged 102 rushing yards a game.
certainly didn't feel like it because I had him on a team, and you need these guys to produce all year round. And some of these guys have great second halves and stuff like that. By that time, you already suck in your fantasy team, or it ain't doing you any good. So I don't know how many games he missed, but
he missed 3 games. He 2021 he had his massive 1,800 yard season. He only averaged 4 less rushing yards per game than that year. He averaged 106.5 rushing yards per game in 2021. He averaged 102.2 in 2024. Like, that's insane. That's kind of insane stuff there. So yeah, he had 12 touchdowns, and that was on a bad, like, I don't know how bad their offense was in the end, but like, it wasn't functional in the beginning, right? Like, so
definitely not.
he could easily be a 15 plus touchdown guy. He's probably going to catch 35 to 40 balls, maybe less with the Richardson, actually, maybe more like 25 to 30.
I can honestly see Daniel Jones being the starting quarterback on that team.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
I know we haven't really gotten to talking about our free agents because of the questions, which is great. But yeah, I definitely agree. Who do we feel is the best landing spot for a running back? Backfield is the best landing spot right now post free agency.
Are we talking rookies draft?
I think so, yeah, because there's not really much.
Pittsburgh.
I mean, there's a couple free agents. Pittsburgh. I mean, that could be Jaylen Warren. So Julian says Cleveland and Pittsburgh, which are 2 good. I mean, Denver's still.
Yeah, really Denver, absolutely. These are proven run first, and I'd like to say the Chargers, but that's kind of been that spot seems to be occupied. The Chargers drafted a guy last year too, so
yeah, Kamani Vidal. They could draft someone. Najee's gonna get his share of touches, so
and he catches the ball. So
yeah,
he plays every game. So,
but they could still draft someone first round, second round. That's all still in play, in my opinion. So, I still think Dallas is a good spot. Like, I know Javante's there, but he signed a $3 million contract. That's kind of telling you how they maybe feel about him. So, the Bears. Bears is probably one of the better ones with Ben Johnson there. Unless they believe in Swift, but we probably think they don't. So, I mean, there's still a lot just because this free agency wasn't very good. And one of the top guys, Rico Dowdle, went to a team, Carolina, who already kind of has an established guy. So like that left a lot of these spots still open.
Yeah, that kind of tells you that he wasn't getting a lot of offers, I bet.
I think it's interesting telling that Dallas just went with Javonte, and they could have stuck with Dowdle. Like that's kind of it's a little telling what they think of Rico Dowdle. So
well, they got a new coach, so he wants maybe his players or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely Broncos are up there for sure. They might be the top. I agree with Julian with Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Cowboys, Bears. A lot of the teams going into it, like really only the Chargers was like the one team that needed, like we were super excited for a running back that it probably the excitement went down a bit. I don't really feel like anyone else went down that much. So
Yeah, don't forget
Raiders,
there's gonna be running backs in the second and third round, so just because your team or a team doesn't draft somebody in the first round, which only may be two, just pay
yeah,
attention to that second and third round there, the NFL
yeah.
draft. And
Raiders as well. I mean, they signed Madison, not Madison. They signed someone, Mostert,
oh,
but
jeez,
we're
okay.
not too worried about that. So Raiders are still, yeah, a lot of those teams are still up there. So some of the other stuff, and keep the questions coming, guys, for sure.
Good questions, everybody.
Yeah, Justin Fields he signed with the Jets. He's going to be for fantasy. I mean, I know we already talked about Garrett Wilson and stuff. He was even last year. He was like QB9 in points per game, right? His 6 games that he played, especially his his last 4 or stuff. So I'm excited about Fields. I think I told him. I think I had him as a buy low video heading in. Before free agency, try to buy low on him because I said I think he's going to be a starter at least for someone in the next year or two. So, yeah, that's I don't know. I'm excited about Fields on the Jets. I think if the coaching staff is right there, I think he could be pretty good. I don't know if you think the same there.
Yeah, I do. We know he's going to get, you know, he's going to get his running yards, rushing yards. So he's going to rip off a couple of couple long runs each game and stuff like that. And, good 50, 60 yards of rushing, I bet. And,
Yeah.
a couple 100 yards of passing. And, we'll see we'll see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, for sure. So Julian, going back to that team for Drake May and stuff, he says he also has, it's an orphan team. He has Caleb, the 101, DJ Moore, the 201, 112, 212. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I since you're kind of going rebuild, Julian, I kind of agree with you. I don't necessarily want to trade my 26 pick. So I'd be fine with the 101, 112. And then if they need something else, I'll throw the 212 at them. Or a 2026 second or whatever. And I'd be fine with that, giving that up for Drake May if they'll take it. Or like the 101, the 201, and then, Debo or something if they're a contending team. So, but I'd be fine with both my first this year because, again, I just really think May is going to be – I think he's going to be awesome. I really do. So they do need some freaking weapons in there. They're kind of I don't know, unless they might just run the ball a bunch.
Ooh, New England?
Yeah, they don't have any weapons.
Yeah, there's I think the free agency class, we know the wide receivers were a little slim picking. So I think New England threw a lot of money at Chris Godwin.
Yeah, and he took
he turned it down.
It was like 20 million or something.
Yeah, like a large amount, and he said, "Nah, I'm going to stay in Tampa." And,
yeah, good for him.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, somebody's true to the football game instead of the. Plus, I'm sure Tampa doesn't have any state taxes, so I'm sure all that crap matters. But
yeah, who wants to play in New England in November and December when you're sucking?
I like Godwin, so
yeah, I do too. Is Audric Estime a sell? I was never a big Audric Estime guy. I know he had a little bit of a following. Thought he was slow, not very exciting. So
sell, yeah, I think you could easily, if you could.
I don't know what you're getting for him though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you get anything for him, that would be good.
Yeah, like if I'm getting if someone wants to give me a third for him, sure. If it's like a fourth, I'd probably just maybe keep it, knowing that backfield is kind of open right now. So, I think people are, even though they didn't bring anyone in Denver, people are still feeling like that they're going to do something in the draft, essentially. Like, I think that's the feeling for Estime. So yeah, maybe someone will give you like a decent amount, and I would sell them. I would. Um, Coming off a championship, should I sell Joe Burrow? I know it's more or less team dependent, but I feel like he's at an all time high, and his value can only decline due to his lack of rushing. If you could down tier, sure. Burrow is one of the few guys who's like, even though he doesn't run, he's probably going to be a top 7 quarterback with his arm each and every year. So like he's one of the few rare guys that are going to do it. But we also thought that with Mahomes, right? Look what Mahomes has been the last 2 years. So, but I don't know. You have Chase there, hopefully Higgins there. Yeah, if you want to down tier,
I think as long as Chase is there, you
put up numbers.
Yeah, if you want to down tier, I mean that means trade Burrow and
yeah. So like, I'd be interested in going from like Burrow to a Drake May and getting obviously extra pieces on top of Drake May. Like, so, you're going to get more in return. Like if someone wants to give me a high first round pick and Drake May for Burrow, I'd listen to it. I'd listen to it.
Maybe I'd listen. I'd have a hard time moving on from Joe Burrow, I think.
Yeah, maybe try and squeeze a little bit more out of him, a couple
right.
A first and a second and May.
You better squeeze a lot out of him. I mean, isn't he, shouldn't he be quarterback 4 or 5?
He is 4, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 4. I mean, going to Caleb, I wouldn't mind that either, just because I think both those guys can get into that like Joe Burrow level for fantasy production. Maybe not necessarily real NFL quarterback stuff, but those are the 2 guys I'd really be looking at. If you still believe in Stroud, which you probably should, I'm a little bit less optimistic about. I think May and Caleb are down tiers that could definitely get into where like QB4 where Burrow is. I don't really see anyone else besides like those 2 guys, to be honest. I don't see Herbert getting there. Maybe Mahomes, if he has Mahomes just needs one big season and he's back there. But I don't know if Stroud's going to get there. Bo Nix, I don't think we'll get there. Jordan Love, Kyler Murray, those guys, I don't think we'll get there. So Caleb and Drake May are the 2 guys I'd kind of look at to do that. But yeah, the other quarterbacks here, we talked about, it wasn't free agency. It was Geno Smith to the Raiders. And sure, I don't think this takes the Raiders out of the running for a quarterback. If they feel strongly about Shedeur Sanders and he falls to them at, 6?
Yeah.
Potentially take someone and, have Geno or even someone in the second round and have Geno kind of be the guy there.
I think Shedeur's getting artificially shit on because of his dad. So I think he's going to be I don't know if he's going to be a great quarterback. He'll be an okay quarterback. So
like, could you see him being like Tua in the right system?
Yeah, and he's accurate.
Yeah. He's accurate. He's pretty good under pressure, and he had a lot of pressure in Colorado.
Yeah, he got his ass kicked in Colorado both years,
Yeah, and that's what you usually look like. It's the big arm guys that don't pan out, and it's these accurate under pressure, good at processing pre and post.
His arm is big enough, if you ask me.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, like Tua, can he be like Tua? So I don't know what it is. I keep floating it. I have this weird feeling about the 49ers and Brock Purdy and just like them not wanting, like I haven't heard, this is the offseason, he should be getting a big contract, right?
Well, but they can franchise tag him, so
but next year. If you believe in, I don't know, like, if you're believing in him, there's just some signs I've seen. This last year, you saw a lot of frustration from Shanahan.
So I think what you're saying is that the Niners could move on from Brock Purdy.
I wouldn't be shocked if it happened.
But he's going to play this year, and then they could tag him next year.
They brought in Mac Jones, and now I know it's Mac Jones, but
I think there's a reason behind that.
Remember the conversation behind all of that was
that's what I was trying to bring up earlier, but I kind of
It was the front office wanted Trey Lance.
yeah,
Shanahan wanted Mac Jones.
yeah.
Remember when they traded up to 3, we all thought it was Mac Jones. Everyone
Like,
did.
it was a lock.
Yeah.
Mac Jones.
Because they trade up before? They traded up before the draft, if I
I think
remember
so.
correctly.
They were sitting there,
It was
you know.
pre-draft. It wasn't on the clock.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And so now look what happened. Now Mac Jones is with the 49ers. So if Brock Purdy doesn't take 45 million a year, and then he thinks, well, I'm worth more than that, and Trevor Lawrence got this much, and all this other crap, then there's good possibility they just let him go.
Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked. Like
Trade
or try
him.
and trade him or something.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was getting a roundabout way of also saying I think Shedeur Sanders would be great in the 49ers system because that's all about timing and you don't need a big arm necessarily. It's all about accuracy, and pre and post snap and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's just stuff I'm floating out there, and I just wouldn't be shocked. Like I really, really wouldn't be shocked because look what they're doing. They're tearing it all down. Like, is Brock Purdy the guy to do it? I don't know. I really don't know, but I could be wrong. I might look dumb. Definitely might.
No, not really. I mean, you're just speculating, and those are real things.
Another thing that it was weird was preseason last year. I think it was their first game, and they basically it was either the first or second. One of the games where a lot of the starters were playing, and they took a lot of the starters out, and they left Brock Purdy in there with all the Debo out and Ayuk and the offensive line. It was just weird. Like, why is Brock Purdy out there when all the other starters are out? It's just little signs like that. It just makes me feel like they really believe Brock Purdy. The Shanahan really believe Purdy can, push him over the top. So bounce back a year for Waddle. I hope so.
Yeah, he's not.
I think he's good. I think he's really
Yeah,
good.
I think he is too. But I don't understand what's going on. It's obviously, Miami has a big problem when Tua gets hurt, and the whole friggin' team falls apart offensively,
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Waddle's kind of a buy low here. So just real quick, guys, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you're on. We'll be live probably about 15, 20 more minutes or so. So we're going about an hour tonight. So it's been about 45 minutes. So we'll probably go another 15 or so. We're just talking through some free agencies. We'll probably won't be able to get to all of them, but we'll get to the rest of them maybe Saturday, see if there's a few, see if Rodgers and those guys sign. But, the Geno to the Raiders, I think it's I love it for Brock Bowers. I like it for Jacoby Myers. I like it for the offense and stuff. I like it for all of that. And, I think Geno, it's just kind of I don't know. I don't really like the Darnold to Geno and stuff. I don't really move a lot from my guys. Like Bowers is already tight end 1. He can't go up anymore.
Friggin' Geno had some turnover issues last year.
Yeah, I think a lot of that was the offensive line and him, but I think a lot of it was also the offensive line. I don't know. I don't think the Raiders' offensive line is necessarily very good, but they have Pete Carroll in there. He believes in Geno. Geno's first year in Seattle was with Pete Carroll. His best year in Seattle was with Pete Carroll. And then you have, isn't it Chip Kelly is their offensive coordinator now?
I think that guy's a farce, but
I don't know. I think it could potentially work out. So, but yeah, I love it for Brock Bowers. I think it's really good. I did make one for Daniel Jones. I agree with you. I do think there's a very good chance he's starting games. All right. What percentage chance do you give it that he's starting week 1? Is that less than 20%, 25% that he's starting week 1?
I say without 75%.
You're going to say 70? Wow.
Yeah.
Beats him out.
Well, that's why it kind of goes on how terrible Anthony Richardson is.
Well, yeah. So you're saying he can't throw the ball at all, and he's
Tim Tebow. 47%.
Here's the bad thing is Shane Steichen needs to win this year or he's out of a job. So if this was like year 1, year 2, okay, like you can see him giving a longer leash to Anthony Richardson. Now they need to win this year. What makes Richardson so intriguing? It's because for fantasy is that you know most guys that aren't already locked in, like a Daniel Jones, most guys are. You need them to get the opportunity, and you need them to be good for fantasy. We already know Richardson's going to be good if he's out there. As long as he's the starter, he's going to put up points. So, like, you're already halfway there. He just needs to be the starter. And that's the problem is we don't know if he's going to be. I think it was smart by Daniel Jones to go to Indianapolis. I think that was really smart by him. And they don't have to change their offense. If they go from Richardson to Daniel Jones, they can keep the same offense because Daniel Jones can run that like zone read kind of run scheme and stuff. So don't forget he rushed for like 700 yards one year, a couple years ago. Olave versus Waddle is interesting. I lean Waddle for next year just because I trust that offense a little bit more. And I think Tua is a better quarterback than Derek Carr. But like if Olave was in a better situation, you know, I wouldn't mind. I think they're both good receivers that are just like we might not see their full potential for a while. They might be like, especially with Olave, he might be like Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, where it's like we know these guys are really good. It's just like they don't have the quarterback until you get Jaden Daniels in there and Terry McLaurin has a top 10 season. Like Terry McLaurin could have been doing this for the last 5 years if he had Jaden Daniels as his quarterback, you know? I think Olave is that kind of player, but Saints are just like, it almost feels like they're that TV show that goes like 3 or 4 seasons too long. And you're just like, you probably should have ended this show 3 years ago. And they just keep like pushing the money down the line and, you know, restructuring their contracts with all these veteran guys. It's just like, what are you doing? Just to go 8-9, 7-10, 9-8? Like, what? I don't know. I don't really get it with the Saints personally, but Jonnu taking over the end of the year was discouraging. Yeah. I do think they try and get back to that bombs away type of offense. By the way, Zach Wilson, he's another backup quarterback. I didn't make a graphic for him. He's the backup to Tua now. He just got a bump in Dynasty for sure. He needs to be picked up if he's for whatever reason out there. He has the arm talent. I remember I was listening to someone saying like they were talking about Zach Wilson and saying like people would like watch coaches and stuff like that would be watching Zach Wilson warm up pregame in Denver because the arm is just like ridiculous, but he can't do everything else, you know? So, but maybe in Miami he could. Anyways, Zach Wilson is another one. I thought there was, Mac Jones we already talked about. You said Kenny Pickett. What percentage chance do you give Kenny Pickett being the starter for Cleveland?
I don't know. I'd like to see where Jameis, what's going to happen there. I'll just give it about a 33 and a third percent. A third, just to
yeah.
So
I mean, they don't have any. Who else do they have? They traded DTR, which I don't think it even really matters. Deshaun Watson's not playing. It's him and Bailey Zappi right now. So
he would be the starter right now.
Yeah. And yeah, they could draft someone. They could also just go and take Abdul Carter or why am I blanking on Travis Hunter? I was blanking on Travis Hunter's name. So it's kind of like the Darnold thing a little bit. Like we didn't think Darnold was going to be the starter for Minnesota when they picked him up. Like I said to pick him up just in case he is, but I didn't believe like maybe I was around that 30%. Like he's the starter for Minnesota in 2024 and look what happened, So yeah. Jacoby Brissett. Okay. Whatever. No one else. Mason Rudolph. Sure.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew signed with the Chiefs. That's right.
Yeah. But we mentioned, we mentioned these backup quarterbacks, and we're kind of going,
play,
you know,
right?
but holy shit, they're probably going to play
Yeah,
sometime next year. So
they are.
yeah,
No, they really are.
it's just the way it happens.
Let's just run through these running backs real quick, and then we'll probably finish up here. Najee on the Chargers. Honestly, like that was probably the best move for Najee. Like in terms of if you have Najee in Dynasty, like you have to be pretty happy. Like he didn't, because no matter what, no matter if the Chargers draft someone first round, Najee's going to get 200 plus touches, 220 touches. Like he is. He's going to get his touches this year. Now, he could be just the guy. I would be pretty shocked if the Chargers don't draft a running back in the first 3 rounds, 4 rounds, I'd be a little shocked, but this is a guy who doesn't get hurt. He doesn't fumble the ball. He can catch the ball. He can pass protect. I know he's not explosive. I don't think he's ever had a 40-yard run, is what I heard from the CBS guys. He's had 1,000, almost 1,100 carries in his career. He's never had a 40-yard run before. He's not explosive. He averages about 4 yards a carry. You're happy if you get that, But he does everything else that teams like. He has 5 fumbles in 1,100 carries.
Catches the ball.
He can catch the ball. He can pass block. He doesn't get hurt. Maybe he gives you you need 2 yards. He'll give you those 2 yards. And something interesting, I meant to look it up before. Yards before contact. And I'm not sure. Maybe I can look this up, but where this ranks. But he was pretty low in Pittsburgh. His 4 years in Pittsburgh was 1.8 yards before contact, and I want to say that's pretty low. I'm gonna kind of quickly look this up, and he was actually pretty decent yards after contact, like 2.5 or something. And so what if you get a little bit better pass? I think the offensive line, if they fix the interior, the Chargers, which they haven't really addressed.
They re-signed their center, so I don't know if that was.
Yeah,
addressing.
They have the tackles in place. They just need, they need at least one guy in the. Yeah, I don't know if I can quickly look this up, but if he gets a little bit better blocking, he has his, yards after contact. He averaged, 2.5 in his best year. Like if you bump up that yards before contact by half a yard, like that, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's going to make a difference.
I heard a Najee Jim Harbaugh story that Harbaugh's been recruiting him even back in high school, like even to come to Michigan. He was a perfect back to be at University of Michigan. So I guess he's always kind of been after him and stuff like that. And Najee ended up in Alabama, but so he's finally got him. So I think they're probably pretty pleased about that, and they will use him.
Yeah, and in his 4-year career, they haven't had a quarterback threat at the level of Justin Herbert. He had last year Ben Roethlisberger, and then you had the carousel of guys the last 3 years. So like that has to come into play. Like I just wouldn't be shocked. And I've been one of the biggest anti-Najee guys, and here I am saying like I think he's rated as RB26. I'd be shocked if he's healthy if he falls below RB26. That would mean they drafted Ashton Genty fell in there. They drafted a first-round guy and just went all in with that guy. I'd be a little surprised.
I've been trying to. I got him on a dynasty team. I've been trying to get rid of him for 2 years.
I'll take him.
I ain't getting. Hell no, not now. But,
so that yards before contact, I was able to look it up. This does include quarterbacks as well, and they're always going to be near the top of the yards before contact. But he was 53rd in the NFL. So if you take out quarterbacks, I don't know, just like quickly looking through that, there's probably 10 to 12. So he was kind of in the 40s for running backs, which is kind of low. So it means he was getting hit a lot. before even getting to the line or whatever. That's what that means. So, and then yards after contact, he was 32nd for running backs. So like not good, not great. Like he wasn't that far off from being like top 15, which was 2.3. So I don't know. Something to keep an eye on there. Like I wouldn't be shocked if Najee had a top 15 season next year. I really wouldn't. That offense is going to be better. Oh, and his numbers in wins. Najee Harris's numbers in wins are a lot better, which is probably the case for a lot of running backs, right? I would guess. But so I kind of like the it seems like a perfect fit. So Javonte to the Cowboys. I kind of talked about buying low on Javonte for the reason of like he's gonna sign with someone and then you can sell it. You can sell him right away and be like, oh hey, he has a chance to be the starter for whatever team. It's the Cowboys, which now he's probably moving up slowly in rankings. So I would try and potentially sell him if I can get a second round pick for him. I'd do it. Anything less, a couple thirds, I would do it. I'd probably just keep him for like 1/3 and just see what happens. I don't know if you feel the same or are you kind of out on Javonte? You'll take a third round pick for him.
Yeah, third round. Yeah, I think I would. I'm not out on him, but there's a time to move on sometimes, and maybe it's now, but I don't know. It'd be interesting. Yeah, we gotta some of these decisions, that we're gonna internally make and stuff. We gotta wait for the NFL draft, or I
No,
know.
that's why you're making moves now. So like there's kind of two sides to it, right? Because like you could sell him and say, hey, to the person you're selling him to, hey, who else is on the Cowboys? He's the starting running back for the Cowboys potentially. Like, give me
Yeah,
a second round pick,
a
and you
selling
cash out.
point. Yeah.
But what if he actually does become the starting quarterback, running back for the Cowboys? Rico Dowdle was just RB22 this year, or whatever he was. Like Javonte could do that if he's the guy for Dallas, I think. So
Yeah, well, nobody was buying Rico Dowdle last year, especially when they signed Zeke.
because everyone assumed they were going to take a quarter or a running back or sign a running back or something, right? And they just didn't. Cowboys just don't pay anyone contracts. So I don't know. I would sell him for a second. I'd probably just keep him for a random third. If it was 2/3, I'd probably take it. But 1/3, I'll say, no, I'll take my chances. I'll take my chances that the Cowboys don't take Genty at the 12 spot, which everyone's predicting that they do. So, or Marion Hampton or something. And then Rico Dowdle, me and Brian made a video, about what, and Rico Dowdle was in it, kind of a buy, sell, hold video. And I was kind of like, I'm just taking whatever I can from Rico. I don't
I'm
think
kind of disappointed where he ended up, but
I don't think he's going to do much. Like, I know people are thinking he'll do something for Carolina, maybe, but I don't know. I would take whatever. I think the time to trade him was last year, and it's probably watched the NFL a long time, and you have two. You get these guys all the time that they're 26, 27, which he's already, by the way, 27 years old, Rico Dowdle. And they just have that 1 year, and then they just never have anything else again. Like it's like, where'd this guy come from? Oh, nice. And then Justin Forsett for the Ravens back in like the mid 2010s. He had his career. He was 2008 to 2013. He had maybe 1,200 yards rushing in those 6 seasons. And then he had a 1,300-yard rushing season for the Ravens in 2014 and then never got over 650 again. Like, that's all he did. So these guys come and go. If time to trade him was middle of last year, end of last year.
And there's a reason he signed a contract with Carolina to be the number 2 running back. So it's because he wasn't, everybody thought, oh shit, he get a 1,000-yard rusher. Somebody's going to throw some money at him, and so he can be the man. And it's like, nah, not happening.
Do you think this is a little bit telling on Jonathan Brooks? 2 ACLs on the same knee now, the running back.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean,
It is a 1-year deal, but does this mean they're just not expecting Jonathan Brooks next year?
yeah, I would totally, because he heard it later on.
Yeah.
That's that guy. That guy's career might be over. I don't know. 2 ACLs. Yeah, he's barely got a chance. He was a hell of a. He was a top running back coming out of the draft, wasn't he, last year?
It was him and Trey Benson, but yeah, Brooks was the only guy to go in the second round.
Yeah.
So, and I remember someone saying that I think there was only they could only recall one NFL player who tore the same ACL. You've seen players tear both and come back, but the same ACL twice. It was like Thomas Davis, the linebacker for the Panthers.
Carolina, yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the only guys. So, other than that, not much for running backs. Like Samaje Perine, Elijah Mitchell, we already talked about. Kenneth Gainwell to Pittsburgh, I think is a little good for that. So, but we'll look at these last couple things before we take off here. Appreciate everyone that stopped in. It was a lot of fun tonight. I'm high on Bryce Young next year. Got to throw him in. Got him as a throw-in. Yeah, I was telling, again, not to toot our own horns because we also make a lot of mistakes, but I was telling people last year, buy Bryce Young. Please buy Bryce Young. People just hated him. Someone was trying to offer me a 3rd-round pick for him at the beginning of this year. And I'm just like, no, I'm not going to do that. And yeah, you should be excited about Bryce. I think you should be excited about him. I think he's going to be pretty good, especially if he runs the ball. And he's legit, he runs a legit 4.41 or something. He's fast. So, so when the Chiefs traded their best offensive lineman, I thought they are smart, making cap space, paying the young guys, building for the future. But when the Texans, yeah, it's just a bias. When the Texans do it, they're idiots. Yeah, it is. It's a bias.
Offensive guards are a little easier to replace than offensive tackles and stuff. So the two most important linemen are offensive tackle and then your center, and the guards, so they traded their best offensive guard because the other guy they franchise tagged on the other side.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to pay him some money and stuff like that. But
you need offensive guards to win, but they're very easy to find. Not easy, but they're easier to find.
Easier, yes.
Yeah.
You don't have to have this giant wingspan, and you don't have to be 6'7", 330 and stuff like that. Yeah, it helps, but
even average offensive tackles are just coveted, and they get paid so much, I forget the guys. Morgan Moses is a good example.
Yeah.
The dude just got 3 years, $24 million. So Dowdle, a pretty good handcuff. Yeah, you shouldn't be dropping Dowdle or anything. He's definitely a good handcuff.
No. It's too early. No.
And look at maybe they run a two-back, a little bit more of a two-back system. I just kind of think Chuba Hubbard's pretty damn good. So, yeah, no, you're not cutting him or anything. You're definitely rostering him. And it's just that I was kind of telling people, take a 2nd-round pick for him because I don't think he's going to be a starter anywhere. And seems to that was the right call. But, yeah, Chuba could get hurt, and we're talking about Rico as a legit guy. So, but I think that is all. It was a lot of fun tonight. We'll be live again Saturday morning, our normal, Sunday evening, our normal, doing some, we'll go over the rest of the free agents and, see if anyone else signs. Maybe we'll do a rookie draft or a mock draft or something. As always, if you're watching this on replay, hit the like, subscribe, join our Discord, get into some listener leagues, and hopefully we'll be able to go live for a couple of those at the end of this month. At least for the first 10 rounds or so, a live real money startup draft, which will be a lot of fun to do. So, but that is it. Predictions for Aaron Rodgers?
I don't give a shit.
That's probably the
It
right.
pisses me off. So just play quarterback, dude. That's
It's
all.
probably
Just
Pittsburgh,
be a
right?
football player.
Yeah, it's
So
probably Pittsburgh.
just yeah.
Your answer was probably right.
Yeah, I feel sorry for the Steelers because they're not that type of an organization, but they seem
Mike
to.
Tomlin could be the one coach that kind of makes it work with him. Like, hey, you better show up to practices and not be wherever you are in South America or something
Yeah,
during training camp.
smoking
So,
a bowl and yeah, whatever.
but yeah, appreciate you guys, Julian, Caleb, Robert, everyone else that stopped in, Brandon, and all the questions. Yeah, so a lot of fun. But yeah, we'll see you guys Saturday morning or around noon time, noon Eastern time. So appreciate everyone. See you all then.